Hey everyone. Please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. One of the most powerful and coolest deities in the world of Greyhawk is Nerull the Reaper, and that's who I want to talk about today on Greyhawk Grognard. Nerull the Reaper is one of the coolest gods in the world of Greyhawk, and it's because he has such an iconic look and an iconic place in the pantheon. He's one of the few deities who actually has some real world direct parallels. Because a lot of the deities that you see in the world of Greyhawk, they don't have the traditional godly attributes and spheres of influence that you normally associate with gods in real world mythology. There are very few gods of like love and things like that. That you would most gods in the real world have specific things, but you don't see those necessarily same types of things in Greyhawk. But Nerull is not one of them. Nerull is the Reaper. Um, he first appeared in Dragon Magazine and then was brought into the Guide to the World of Greyhawk in the Gold Box. And here, I'm not going to read the whole thing 'cause it's almost into a page, but let me just give you a sample. He's a major god, neutral evil, uh, god of death, darkness, the underworld, and covert activity. Um, the dreaded Nerull is the foe of all good, hater of life, bringer of darkness, king of all gloom, reaper of flesh. He is the deity of all those who seek greatest evil for their enjoyment and gain. Nerull appears as a skeletal figure. His body is a dull, rusty red color. His skull-like head is adorned with thick strands of black-green hair, hairs in quotes. Nerull's eyes are also of lambent green colors of verdigris, as are his teeth and talon nails. With a cowled cloak of rusty black and staff of red-veined sablewood, Nerull stalks the many planes, particularly the prime material, when it is shrouded by night. This horror will cut down any living creature encountered and send an undead monster howling off to its doom, should it be of lawful bent. The staff of Nerull bears as the staff Nerull bears is a magic scythe which only he can employ. At his whim, a huge blade of red-hued force appears at the tip of the shaft, the life cutter, and it goes on to do a whole bunch of other stuff. Um, the worship of Nerull is done in full darkness. The litany is ghastly, being of death and suffering. Human sacrifice is common. Uh, Altars are of rusty colored stone. Service pieces are usually of copper and malachite. So you get a real sense of what he is. He's death. He's death incarnate. And not just death, but death with an evil bent, because a lot of times death in the real world is seen as kind of a neutral force of nature. Everything dies, everything goes back. It's part of the cycle of life. Not Nerull. Nerull is just he's actively evil, and he causes death for evil purposes. He's a terrific take on that. For example, on that archetype of the god of death, which you see in real world, but this is really a prototypical, archetypical evil god of death and destruction. He also appears in one of Gary Gygax's novels, Artifact of Evil. He's actually summoned to take the second key from Gord and his companions, summoned to the material plane. He appears on this great daemon steed of his, and he's ultimately banished away from Earth for a time, but he makes an enormous impression in there. He causes fear, and you can hear his howling miles away, and so forth. So it's definitely one of the standout scenes in the book. I won't read it; it's several pages long, but it's really cool. He appears in a number of times in a number of places. He's in the Greyhawk Adventures hardcover, which curiously they don't actually go through all of the different deities that were in the gold box. They actually add some, and they don't have others. So they do complement each other. One thing that's worth noting. Um, Many evil humans and some humanoids pay homage to Nerull. In wicked lands such as the Great Kingdom, temples of Nerull operate openly. Elsewhere, his temples operate secretly in subterranean vaults. And so on and so forth. But that's a neat addition because they actually contradict that later on. And in the 3.5 era, in the 3.0 era as well, Nerull was one of the default deities of the game of the pantheon that's given in the game, and they specifically say there. Clerics of Nerull are secretive and solitary, since few sane people tolerate their presence. Even in the most evil lands, Nerull has no organized churches, with no overall hierarchy. Individual churches work against each other at times. Temples to Nerull are always hidden, even in lands where the Reaper is honored. They're usually located underground, often as part of catacomb conflicts. So they kind of changed that aspect of him, where sometimes in the older edition, his temples are openly found, but later on they kind of change that and tinker with it to make him not so. Um, they also, obviously as editions change, different details change. He's in first edition, he's able to summon the services of three demodans, which are a type of neutral evil. Underworld creature. Later on, they don't have demodans, so they change that to something else. Little things like that. But Nerull has been remarkably consistent through the game. Whenever he's mentioned, they don't make a lot of major changes to him like they do with some of the other deities. I think it's because he is so iconic and so primordial, in the sense that there's not much really to change in such a simple deity. He's a god of death and evil. You don't need. There's not a lot of subtlety there that can be molded around the edges. He's definitely a deity that can be brought into the game, very easily as an antagonist. His temples, his clerics, his cult can absolutely, be found, as the impetus for an adventure. All you need to do is set the PCs on the scent of somebody who's been kidnapped, for example, to serve as a human sacrifice, or just there's an evil temple in the nearby foothills. We need to go and wipe it out because it's an evil temple, that kind of thing. So it's definitely Nerull is one of those deities that is enormously handy at the table, because the very presence of his followers is an excuse for an adventure, and to go out and eradicate them, because they don't have any redeeming qualities. This is one of those examples where you have there's no misunderstood noble clerics of Nerull. They're always there for rapine and to spread evil and so forth. Now it's interesting to note that in the Gord the Rogue books, Nerull is portrayed as, while he's one of the major deities, he's a greater god on the level with Beori, the Earth Mother, and so forth. Um, he's still subservient to Tharizdun, because in the Gygax conception, Tharizdun is the source of all evil, and all other evil creatures necessarily are his slaves and servants, willing or otherwise. So it's very interesting that even the deity at the top of the heap, so to speak, is still subservient to Tharizdun. And we'll get to Tharizdun in one of these videos. It's also worth noting that he is a Flan deity, which means he was present in the Flanaess way before all the migration started in. But he's also a common deity, so his worship was absorbed into all the other pantheons, and by all the other cultures as they came into the Flanaess. So he's one of those. And again, I think it's because he is such an iconic figure, and a god of death is definitely something that is going to be useful in a pantheon. But it does also imply that the other pantheons didn't really have gods of death, except for the Sul pantheon. You could argue that Weejas was served that purpose, but I couldn't find anything that really spelled out their relationship with one another. If I've missed something, please let me know down in the comments. But yeah, so it's a very fascinating, very powerful figure in a literary sense, in a storytelling sense. Um, Very useful in the table, in your game. Please do let me know in the comments. What have you done with Nerull? What sort of adventures have you done? Beyond the simple rescue somebody or just go wipe out the evil temple. What kind of twisty plots might your cults of Nerull have been doing in your games? I'd love to hear it. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.